Slendy, hey bro, Slendy, hey, you already know what's up. What's that? Another home run. But you know the job ain't done till we hold that trophy up. Hey.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome, episode 620 of the Talking Friars podcast and YouTube show. Ben Fadden with you here, July 28th, 2024. Another series win for the Padres, their best road trip of the season. A successful road trip. They lost 2 games out of 9 on this road trip. They swept the Nats. They took 2 out of 3 from the Guardians, and they take 2 out of 3 from the Baltimore Orioles. Baltimore and Cleveland, those are 2 of the best teams in the American League. So, I mean, how can you be sad? How can you be anything but happy with what you saw on this road trip in terms of results, win losses? Got to be happy with a 7-2 road trip. I'm gonna take that every day of the week. I don't care who the Padres are playing. So we'll get into that. Obviously, the Padres made a significant addition, made some significant subtractions as well to the farm system. We'll talk about that trade. If you didn't see my initial reaction. If you want to join the show, I will post a link at some point in the comments. I'm just not pinning it up at the top of the chat. But yeah, just request in the chat if you do have something to say, have some thoughts on either the Padres play, what they should do before this trade deadline, the trade that they made acquiring Rays reliever, high leverage reliever Jason Adam. But first off, I do want to just go over the 3 games here against the Baltimore Orioles before getting into that trade. Today, I have not given my post-game reaction yet, so we'll start with today's game. Padres lose 8-6. This is one of those where, man, if Randy Vasquez had a little bit of more control, if Endo De Los Santos didn't throw a couple of meatballs, if that ball wouldn't have dropped in front of Jurickson Profar, if Gunnar Henderson would have dropped that ball in center late in the game. Like there was the good play in center field. I think it was Cedric Mullins out there against Manny. Like there were so many of those definitely late in this game where the Padres they were fighting back, right? They were down 6-0, and I'm sure there were fans that bailed and were like, "All right, just not our day, but hey, still a good road trip." But the Padres said, "No, no, no, we're going to keep fighting." And that's not something that you fans would want to hear from me if the Padres lost this series or if they had a bad road trip. But them having a good road trip, they could have easily been down 6-0 and they just give up offensively. But that's not what happened. This team continued to fight. Ha-Seong Kim in the 5th started it off with or at least in terms of RBIs, with the double. Made it 6-1. Higgy made it 6-2 on an RBI single. Arise then grounded into a double play, but there were no outs in that situation, so that brought in another run. For all those that wanted to see more power from Xander Bogaerts, well, we saw it today. He got his first homer since coming off the IL, made it 6-5. But then in the bottom of the 8th, Baltimore, they added on a couple of runs. Santander scored. Adley scored on the Mountcastle RBI single, made it 8-5. And that's where it obviously got out of reach there because the Padres did score another run to make it 8-6 on a play that ended up being challenged and the Padres won it. And then Brandon Hyde got all pissed off, which I don't really understand. I get it. You're trying to fight for your player, and Gunnar Henderson was the guy that went down it was a grounder for those that didn't see it. Gunnar Henderson was trying to turn a double play. Tyler Wade was running from first to second base. He slides into second base, and as you'll see on the replay, he did nothing wrong. Gunnar Henderson, he was the one that kept himself in the runner's lane too long. When you catch the ball, get out of the lane and then make your throw. When you catch the ball and you're trying to turn a double play, what is the runner supposed to do? He's sliding right into second base. He didn't do anything wrong. Gunnar should get out of the way. But Brandon Hyde got all pissed off. He gets ejected. I don't know if that was just fake outrage, just so everyone knew that he was standing up for Gunnar or what. But did he not see the replay? Did they not show it at Oriole Park, Camden Yards? I don't know. Because that's not something you should be getting ejected for. It's not like it was a bad call made. Tyler Wade was sliding right into second base. Anyway, I like the fight from this team in this game. And Randy Vasquez, that's baseball, right? He goes 6 shutout innings in his last outing. And then today he can't get 7 outs. The command was just an issue. If Randy didn't, you know, not be able to command his pitches and walk a guy, it was a walk with the bases loaded, I believe, right? Like, you cannot do that. If he didn't walk 4 guys, how would this game have turned out? Would it have turned out differently? Would the Padres have been able to win this game because they would have come back and maybe different guys are pitching in different situations? Some bright spots. I mean, Alec Jacob today, I loved how he pitched today. 2 innings, didn't give up any runs, struck out 4 guys. I sure hope when Jason Adam is added to this roster before the Dodgers series that it's not Alec Jacob that gets sent down. If it's going to be someone, let's have it be like an Austin Davis or a Enyo De Los Santos. I think they would have to DFA him though. Or Gillespie has actually been okay, but I don't want Alec Jacob being the one that gets sent down. I think he can help your team. Even if you're down, he can keep it at where it's at. He doesn't have like this super high velocity, but the arm angle, the pitches that he has, that can make his fastball look faster than what it is. So, especially with the arm angle when he goes up in the zone, like he was doing that a little bit today, I think that's a valuable piece to your bullpen. So, hopefully it's someone else other than Alec Jacob that goes. That was a positive from today. Xander showing off the power with the homer. That was a positive. And again, the guys continuing to fight when you already had a successful road trip. Again, they lost today, but in that situation, knowing like, hey, if we lay down and we lose this game, you're still 7-2 on the road trip. It's still a good road trip. But those little things like the identity of this Padres team, what is their identity? They fight. They're not going to just give in, right? The guys on the field, they're not just going to give in. They're going to keep having those good at-bats, and who knows what's going to happen. That Cubs game earlier this year where they were down 8-0 and came back and won that game, that was big because regardless of the situation now, even when the Padres get down, they can say to themselves in the dugout, remember that game against the Cubs where we were down and we came back and won that game. We can do this still. And they could, it was 6-0. It could have been 6-6 if those couple of runs didn't score later in the game in that 8th inning. Who knows what would have happened? And again, I will give props to some of the plays the Orioles made defensively. The Orioles definitely gave the Padres some runs, some extra base runners in this series, no doubt about that. But they made some good plays today out there in center, way deep center, and then shallow center as well. So, yeah, sucked that they lost today, but at the end of the day, you win series on the road against especially some of the best teams in the American League. I'm going to be happy. And so Padres, they take 2 out of 3. Yesterday, they won it 9-4. And one of the big stories of the game was the performance of Michael King, and he continues to be pitching like a frontline starter, which it's like best case scenario, right, for the Padres. What they're getting out of Michael King right now, his last 5 starts have been pretty darn good. Yesterday, he goes 6 1/3, 2 earned runs, punches out 9, walked a couple of guys. But, you give 6 1/3 to the Padres and you give up 2 earned runs, I'm going to take that pretty much every time. You want some, like he's done over the last 5 starts, a couple of those where he's gone even longer than that. And it's not 2 earned runs, it's even less. It's 1 earned run or it's nothing. It's 6 shutty. But I'm going to take that. The 9 punch outs, he's working fast. That changeup was freaking nasty yesterday. And then you have the offense, obviously, on the other side of things. So yesterday was one of those where I know like there's some of the 4-0 wins, right, that the Padres have had on this road trip. But yesterday you get a quality start from your starter, you get 9 runs from your offense. That's obviously a great recipe for success. You're going to win a lot of games like that. And Michael King, we know how important he is to this Padres team. And he's been more important, obviously, with the injuries of Darvish, or not the injury, but now the personal reasons don't know when he's going to come back. That absence, and then obviously the absence of Joe Musgrove with the injury, and he is rehabbing. He's going to pitch, I believe, Tuesday back at the Peoria Sports Complex against Mariners minor leaguers. So that's good. Seems like he's starting to really ramp it up here. Probably would be a couple of more rehab starts before they think about putting him back into big league action. But he wants to go, his regular outing when he comes back. He doesn't want to come in for 4 innings because then that hurts the bullpen too. So that's really the update we have on Musgrove. But yeah, King, Cease, Wally. I say Wally because that's what Michael King said on the broadcast today. I guess that's what Matt Waldron's nickname is. But these guys, so big for the Padres because where would they be without the quality starts from those guys? The Padres are getting bullpen arms like Jason Adam, and they'd like to add another one. I read from Dennis before I came on here. The bullpen at times has been a little bit of an issue, and you want that extra high leverage reliever like they got with Jason Adam. And then it's kind of like, hopefully these guys work out past those 4 guys, including Adam now, who hasn't pitched yet for the Padres, but he'll probably pitch in those 2 games against the Dodgers. Getting those quality starts from those starters that I named, man, that's so big because it's less of a bridge to get to those high leverage guys. And those high leverage guys aren't going to pitch every day. So if they don't pitch every day and the bridge guys pitch the day before, maybe they're less effective. And it's guys that you just don't want to keep going back to. You prefer not to. You want to just go to the high leverage guys. Get the quality start, go to the high leverage guys, and get a win. And the Padres did that a lot this road trip. Or they didn't have to use the high leverage guys because they scored a bunch of runs in the game. Right? But yeah, yesterday, 9-4 victory. They got help. They definitely got help from Baltimore, but good teams, they capitalize when those opportunities are presented to you. 2-0 on the air. Man, Gunnar Henderson, he reminded me, I don't know about you guys, but watching him this series, and yeah, it's 3 games, but he reminded me of Tatis early on. Remember Tatis? Great player, great talent, but he wasn't the best defensively. He had an arm, but sometimes didn't know where it was going. Sometimes there'd be a lot of throws in the dirt. And you had Haas on the other side, which didn't help all the time, right? Or he'd airmail balls, right? Just little things that. Now, it was 2019 when Tatis. It's not like it's Gunnar with the Orioles this year where they're trying to go win the division. It was different circumstances with Tatis back in 2019, a little bit in 2022. 2020, 2, not 2022. But I would compare Gunnar and Tatis, talented shortstops. They can bring it offensively, but there was work to be done early on in their careers at shortstop. They have an arm, but they've got to work on hitting the target, And I think Gunnar, this isn't an Orioles show, but I think he should take command of that infield more. There were things this weekend where pop-ups, and it's you waving your hands out there. The guy at third base doesn't see that. He's looking at the ball. You got to be vocal out there. Yell ball, 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 instead of just waving your arms and thinking that that's going to call everyone off. Maybe that calls off an outfielder, but that's not going to call off an infielder that's just looking up at the ball and trying to go make a catch like we saw early on in yesterday's game. So just some similarities there. The Orioles, obviously, their rebuild has been successful. The Padres' rebuild wasn't, in terms of the homegrown guys, the guys they drafted coming up. Those guys ended up being dealt for guys like Juan Soto, right? And Tommy Pham, right? Hunter Renfroe going to Tommy Pham and Jake Cronenworth. Renfroe going to the Rays. Xavier Edwards going to the Rays. I think he's with the Marlins now. Didn't he hit for the cycle today or something? First home run in the big leagues too, so congratulations to him. But some of the prospects, right, it worked out to a degree because they got major league talent back for them, but they didn't all come up to the big league level and perform we'll see what happens with Jackson Holiday, and we'll see who sticks there at the big league level for those Baltimore Orioles. But it seems like Mike Elias and that Orioles team, they hit on a lot of guys. But, they were also really tanking. Padres were just bad. Orioles were really tanking in some of those years. And so, yeah, they got number 1 draft picks. They got I don't know, I'm just guessing here, but number 3 overall, top 5 draft picks, consecutive seasons. And the hit rate, you're probably going to get those guys to the big leagues. They're probably not going to be a bust before they get to the big leagues. They might not pan out as you wanted to, but it seems like they're some of them at least are going to pan out there. Xander with an RBI double yesterday, getting back to yesterday's game, made it 3-0. Top of the 4th, Profar with the ground out, 4-0. Well, there was an error by Gunnar again. Manny, it was cool to see him homer. He has homered both times with the Padres back at Camden Yards, or with him back at Camden Yards playing for the Padres back in, what was that, 18 or 19? I want to say it was 19. Manny homered to left center back in Baltimore. And then this year he homers to right center. Game, made it 7-0. Game was over, what it felt like. But seeing that power from Manny and Xander, I'm not saying they have to do it as much as some others might want them to. But, yeah, you're going to want them to have some power, because where else are you getting the power in the rest of the lineup, right? When the postseason comes around, if the Padres make the postseason, and I'm confident that they will, you're facing good pitching. Are you going to be able to string together, as much as that's great to see? Are you going to be able to string together hits and rallies all the time? We saw in 2022 with the Padres, sometimes you need big homers. Game 1 of the wild card, there were homers there, right? Off of Scherzer. Even I know they didn't win, but game 2, Grish got DeGrom. And you look at the NLDS, game 3. Well, let's go back game 2 against the Dodgers. Crony had that big homer late. Game 3, Grish had the homer. NLCS, Soto had homers. Manny had a homer. Like Drury and Bell, right? They had homers. So the long ball, you're going to need it come postseason time. And so hopefully Tatis is going to come back late August and be healthy the rest of the year, and he can be some power. Merrill can get into it, but he's not trying to. It's really Tatis and Manny, right? Those are the 2 guys that stick out. And then other guys, Crony can homer, Profar can homer. Profar, I believe, leads the team in homers, but I still don't look at him as a power hitter. I look at him as having a great year, and sometimes when he hits a ball on a line, it gets out still, So we'll see if that power continues. We'll see how many homers Xander ends up with. Same thing with Manny by the end of the year. Merrill had a sac fly yesterday. Yeah, a couple, actually. Made it 9-2. Mullins did homer in the 9th, but the game was over by then. Really wanted to give props to Michael King yesterday for the performance that he had, and the performance that he has had his last 5 outings. I'm going to pull up his game logs here real quick, because Darvish and Musgrove have been out for a while, and we know with the last 2 guys in the rotation, don't know what to expect every time out. You need those guys like Michael King, Matt Waldron, Dylan Cease to come up with quality outings. Michael King's last 5 outings: 6 1/3, 2 earned runs, 7 innings, 1 earned run, 6 innings, 1 earned run, 5 1/3, 1 earned run, and 6 innings, 1 earned run. Gave up 6. He went 6 innings, 5 earned runs against Milwaukee on the 23rd of June. But then even the outings before that, 1 earned run, 2 earned runs, no earned runs, 1 earned run, 1 earned run. He's been good. He has been really good for the most part. He's pumping that fastball changeup combination. Seems like he was really confident yesterday in that changeup. So great to see. Game 1, Padres won 6-4. Adam Major got the start. It was a bullpen game, and that's one of those where I was pumped up that the Padres won the Adam Major game. Didn't know what to expect out of Vasquez today, so for them to win that Major game, and hopefully they were going to win the King game, and they did. Obviously, you guarantee the series win there. And they had 7 wins in a row going into today. Obviously, they couldn't extend that to 8. But winning that Major game was so big. Didn't know what we were going to get, how long Major was going to go. He ends up not going through 3, but it seemed like that was more of a, okay, we're reading things here. Don't want to have Major face Santander again. Don't want him to keep facing this lineup because he's probably going to end up giving up more runs than 1 earned run. There were some balls that were hit hard. And so let's go to the bullpen. And Austin Davis, no earned runs. Gillespie, no earned runs. Matsui, no earned runs. Estrada, no earned runs. Robert Suarez came in, got the win, no earned runs. So that's one of those where, yes, we got the win in a bullpen game. Thankfully, the Padres offense were able to score 6 runs in this game, because if they didn't, then maybe we're talking about a Padres series loss instead of a series win over the Orioles. Also helped that Craig Kimbrell came in. As I said on my post-game reaction Friday, it was Friday, right? I'm losing track of days here. Yeah, Friday. I'm not scared. Craig Kimbrell's not a guy. I'm not saying if I was in the box. I'm saying just watching the Padres. Craig Kimbrell's not a guy that I'm scared of anymore. He's going to come in. He's going to yank some breaking balls, and he's going to throw some fastballs over the plate. You're going to get an opportunity to hit some fastballs. You will. The day before, I believe, against the Marlins, the Orioles blew a 5 or 6-0 lead, and Kimbrell was a big part of that. So I think the Orioles wanted to get him back out there, and it helped the Padres late in this game. So Jurickson Profar, first off, top of the 6th, he ties the game 2-2 with that homer, 17th of the year. Then he had homer number 18th later in the game. Bogey with the double. Merrill had an RBI double. 4-2 Padres lead. Again, Merrill, him, the Baltimore, the Maryland homecoming, that was great. The hundreds of people that were there to support Merrill, and the Merrill fathead. Manny, by the way, had a picture, I think, before yesterday's game on the field with that. The Padres posted that. That was funny. He was supporting 2 of his favorite teammates, Merrill with the fathead, and then he had the Profar irrelevant shirt, or the Profar celebration. Really a Padre. It's not a Profar celebration. It's the Padres celebration. But had that shirt on. So just showing the teammate that Manny is. But just getting back to the Maryland homecoming, it was cool. And especially for Friday, for him to go oppo like that was such a Merrill moment. He could have homered, but for him to go oppo, that just shows who he is. Not trying to do too much. Take a break. I think it was a breaking ball. Take a breaking ball the other way and driving a run. That made it 4-2. Bottom 8, Santander homered. Mountcastle, sac fly, made it 4-4. And that was where I kind of questioned the bullpen decision there by Mike Schilt. He ended up going to Adrian Morejon instead of sticking with Jeremiah Estrada. And I understand it was the matchup. He wanted the matchup with Gunnar Henderson. But when you don't get Gunnar Henderson out, you walk Gunnar Henderson, then Morejon has to stay in the game. And now the Orioles get the favorable matchup. And that obviously didn't go great. Gives up a homer. In hindsight, it's easy to say, but it wasn't really in hindsight for me. In that situation, I was thinking, like, Estrada hasn't thrown 20 pitches. I think he was at like 12, maybe 15 at that time. I believe in Jeremiah. Like, at some point, you should believe in Jeremiah Estrada and not just go based on matchup and say, all right, let's bring Morejon in because Gunnar hits worse against lefties than against righties. I know it's a numbers game, but for me, with the feel of it, I don't think Estrada was pitching bad. I would have probably left Estrada in the game, and then you just don't go to Morejon unless something terrible happens with Suarez. And then, actually, no, because in that situation, Morejon, it was the 7th inning in that spot, I think. Yeah, because Suarez had to come in for 5 outs. So I would have went with Estrada for the 7th, just have him get through the 7th. That allows for Morejon to pitch the 8th instead of having to come in with runners on base. I think there was, runners on base in that situation. Then Suarez That means that Suarez has to go pitch longer than an inning. It's just a trickle down effect there for the rest of that bullpen in that spot. I just would have probably stuck with Jeremiah Estrada and just trusted my guy. Mike Schilt, he trusts his guy. He trusts his guys. I would have done that there. But Jurickson Profar is a Padre, and that's a great thing because in the top of the ninth, he hits the go-ahead homer. Tyler Wade scores as well, 6-4, the lead, and then the Padres end up getting that victory. Man, that was a moment right there. The whole DMV area must not be a big fan of Profar, huh? Because what Profar has done against the Nats this year, 10 runs driven in this season, in that season series. Then the guys take the bus over to Baltimore, and then Profar first game hits the go-ahead, ended up being the game-winning homer against that team. So I'm sure they're happy they don't have to face Profar until the World Series, hopefully, the rest of this year. But, man, he has been so clutch. The numbers, I don't know if you guys saw the numbers that were posted. I forget who exactly posted them, but I'm going to look it up right now. The clutch numbers from Profar, like late situations, runners in scoring position. I'm finding it right now here. 1 second. It was like, man, you want to look up clutch in Wikipedia? Profar's face should show up there. Here it is. Clark Farenholt. Pretty good follow on social media. He put up these numbers. This was after Profar's homer on Friday. His numbers in high leverage at bats in 2024. A 328 weighted runs created plus. That's first in Major League Baseball. 636 WOBA. First in Major League Baseball. 531 batting average in high leverage at bats. First in baseball. He's really good with runners in scoring position. I think he leads the Padres in home runs. And this is where I go to the MVP conversation, right? There's some voters that look at it as the best player award. There's some voters that look at it as actually MVP. What does that player mean to their team? And I'm not saying Shohei Ohtani doesn't deserve an MVP or Bryce Harper at the end of the year won't deserve MVP. There are some names that get thrown around in this, right? But I kind of look at this as 2022, where Manny, he ends up not winning the MVP. Sure, he got top 3, but I think he got second, actually. Doesn't win MVP, but let's remember what he was going through. If I'm judging MVP, I'm looking at what the name of the award is. Most valuable player. And I think of that as most valuable player to their team. And Manny played through injury, came back way earlier than many would after it was the ankle injury, right, in Colorado. Comes back, had the team on his back that year. And you could say the same thing about Jurickson Profar. Sure, is Merrill contributing? Yes. Has other guys had their moments? Yeah. But Jurickson Profar, he started in the All-Star game. This guy's getting paid $1 million on a base salary, and he's earning incentives, but this guy is one of the best players in baseball. He's up there in the National League in average and a lot of different offensive categories. Valuable, let's go to valuable, not just overall numbers, but high leverage situations, these at-bats that are high leverage at-bats, and he's first in multiple categories. He's hitting homers in big spots. That D-backs game where Profar tied the game up in the 9th inning after the Padres choked that lead, right? I mean, and then Manny had the walk-off after that. There's that. There's a bunch of moments. I mean, the 10 runs driven in against the Nationals, the RBI that he had against the Dodgers, the whole Mr. Irrelevant stuff here against the Baltimore Orioles. I mean, there's a bunch of different moments where Profar has come up clutch and he's been valuable in big situations for this Padres team. So will Profar win MVP? I don't think so, but he should definitely have consideration and he should be respected by the voters, and voters should not just put him 6th or 7th on the ballot. I think they should really take a hard look. Sure, it's July, late July. There's still a lot of time left, but not a ton of time, but still, months left in the season. But Jurickson Profar, this, for me, it's not the best numbers award, the best stats award. I think you got to look at the situation that the player's in. And Jurickson Profar, the Dodgers have a ton of talent on that team. They were expected to be, the best team in the National League probably going into the season. Bryce Harper has a bunch of talent around him. I'm not saying there's no talent on this Padres team. Not saying that. What I am saying is look at the expectations going into the season of the Padres versus the Dodgers and the Phillies. There was a gap there, right? And the Padres, look at where they're at and why they're where they're at. And a big reason because of that, or a big reason why, is because of Jurickson Profar. So my point, I guess, is just give this guy the consideration that he deserves. Give him the MVP votes, the respect that he deserves. If you don't want to go with Profar for your MVP, I understand that. There are guys that do have better numbers, and you can make the case for that. But he's the Padres MVP. He's the comeback player of the year. He's got an 883 OPS, 392 on base, a 301 average, hitting over 300. He's got 18 homers, started in the All-Star game. He comes up big, clutch. I mean, you want to look up clutch in baseball, and you point to Jurickson Profar, So I just wanted to get that off my chest. So Padres take 2 out of 3. If you have any takeaways from this series, feel free to let me know in the chat. Obviously, I'm going to get to this Jason Adam edition that AJ Preller made this morning. I believe he was on the East Coast in Baltimore with the team. So it's not like it was 7:30 in the morning for him. He was well awake. And I don't know if you guys saw, but on Padres TV, they showed the interview, some of the interview that Preller gave to the media today, probably in the tunnels of Oriole Park. It did not look like he expected to be sleeping anytime soon. It didn't look like that he got a bunch of sleep the night before. It looked like he was hammering out this deal with Tampa, is what it looked like. Kind of like the bedhead a little bit. And this is who AJ is, especially this time of year. He doesn't care about sleep. He just wants to get the job done. There was the Juan Soto trade deadline in 22, right, where there was the stories that came out after they acquired Soto, where they're celebrating early in the morning, that the deal was going to be done. It was going to be finalized early in the morning, right? The final details. Preller goes back to his house, and he falls asleep at 2 in the morning, something like that, 2, 3 in the morning, talking to a scout on the phone. And this is obviously right before the trade deadline, so I understand, he doesn't want to waste a second, but that's this dude's work ethic. If there's something that you're going to applaud him for, it's that he cares this much, and he will sacrifice his well-being, his sleep, for trying to build the best Padres roster to go win right now. And that's this Jason Adam edition. It's pretty obvious the Padres are trying to win right now. It was obvious with the Luis Ariz deal, the Dylan Cease deal. I know trading away Juan Soto sucked in the offseason, but considering the circumstances, the Padres and AJ Preller, he's done a pretty darn good job of making this roster competitive and then adding to it in ways that he's needed to add to it where he saw fit, So quick break, and then I will get to the Jason Adam trade, the details. There's also some more rumblings around the Padres, so we'll get to that. Check out Gaglione Bros' famous cheesesteaks and garlic fries on Friars Road. You can visit their website, gaglionebros.com, for their entire menu and enjoy their cheesesteaks and fries at Petco Park and Snapdragon Stadium as well. All right, some of the other great partners of the show, by the way, Breaking Tea, they got Padres and Aztec shirts and sweatshirts. click the link in the description. Underdog Fantasy, 50% first time deposit match up to $250, and you will get to claim a special pick as well. For the Olympics, it's past, but they will be running specials as well during the Olympics. But USA Basketball played today. They got the win over Jokic and Serbia. And there were specials. This is just an example of what you could get with Underdog Fantasy. It was half a point, and that's an easy win. Half a point for LeBron, points higher, boom, easy. I think Jokic was an option as well. And so it's an easy win there. So there's the pick'ems, basketball, all sports, baseball, obviously, Padres every day that they play. NFL when the season resumes. I believe there's college football, there's golf, a bunch of stuff for the Olympics. So I definitely encourage you to take advantage of what Underdog Fantasy can bring to you. And then SeatGeek code Talking Friars, $20 off your first order there. First time using an email with SeatGeek, you will get $20 off that first order when you use the code Talking Friars. And with the app on the website, they'll tell you, good seat, bad seat for the value, how much the ticket is being listed for. So take advantage of that as well. This upcoming homestand for the Padres, it's going to be a fun one. Get your popcorn with the pitching matchups coming up on Tuesday and Wednesday. I believe Tuesday it's going to be Waldron for the Padres and then Tyler Glasnow for the Dodgers. Let me double check that to just make sure I'm correct. Yeah. And the trade deadline will have passed a few hours before 6:40, the first pitch. And then on Wednesday, another intriguing matchup. Dylan Cease, his first start since the no-hitter. I'm sure he will get a huge applause before that outing. He goes up against Clayton Kershaw, who I believe will be making a second start since coming off the IL. Made his first start against the Giants, I want to say. I saw a bunch of it on my notifications. I mean, MLB was writing that guy. It's like, yeah, I get it. I get it. Kershaw's back. We get it. All right. I did want to check social media real quick, just in case I'm missing something, because you never know with AJ. No. All right. So let's get to the Jason Adam deal. I already gave my initial reaction this morning when that deal went down. But the details, the Padres, they acquired right-handed reliever Jason Adam, high-leverage reliever, sub-3 ERA the last 3 seasons. His whip's under 1 this year. Great addition. Major league roster-wise, if you're just looking at the major league roster, great. But who'd they give up? They gave up Dylan Lesko, top pitching prospect. They drafted him in the first round a couple of years ago. He was looked at as maybe this could be a frontline starter that we actually develop, and he's here, cheap contract, and can help build around him and Robbie Snelling. Snelling's still in the organization as of now. We'll see by Tuesday at 3. But he goes to Tampa. And then JD Gonzalez, the catching prospect, who is 18. He's young. I think he's a defense first catcher. He was with Lake Elsinore. He goes to Tampa. And then the final name that ends up going to the Tampa Bay Rays, Homer Bush Jr., who was recently drafted by the Padres as well, I believe in last year's draft out of Grand Canyon. I remember when the Padres selected him, watching some video, it's like, this guy could be pretty interesting. They traded James Wood, and then it was like, okay, Homer Bush Jr. is a Padre. This might be interesting, But those guys go. And for me, my reaction to this is you're going to have to give up good talent to get someone like this. It's not a rental. Jason Adam is under control for the rest of this season and the next 2 seasons after that. And by the way, this season, it's a prorated salary, and he was making less than $3 million the entire season anyway. So whatever is prorated for however many games the Padres have left, that's how much he's making. So it's probably less than $1 million? I'm not great at math, but maybe around $1 million, something like that. So I'm going to take that. When this guy this year has already striking out guys like Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, Bobby Witt Jr., Ellie De La Cruz. And he is someone that has a lot of holds. And he is one of the best setup men in baseball. This is not a Dylan Cease splash in terms of a name. Even Luis Ariz, because I think a lot of baseball fans knew who Luis Ariz was, right? He'd been to the All-Star game a couple of times, right? But with Jason Adam, it's like, oh, Jason Adam. And the initial reaction amongst Padres fans was the Padres lost this trade. Why are we giving up this much for one reliever? But I think those Padres fans, and I understand it, not every Padres fan is going to go do the research right away about who that guy is and how the minor leaguers were doing this season and what their situations are. When was their ETA to the big leagues with the Padres situation that they're in, trying to win right now. But look at Jason Adams' numbers. 2.49 ERA this year, 47 games, 47 innings. He's given up just 4 home runs this year. He's given up 13 earned runs, again, in 47 innings, 50 strikeouts to 16 walks. His ERA plus is 57% above league average. Again, his whip is below 1, which is what you want. That's a really good whip. He had a sub-1 whip, by the way, in 2022. He had struggled. He was with the Padres briefly. Then I believe they released him. Then he was with the Royals, Toronto, the Cubs for a couple of years. His ERA with the Cubs in 21 was 5.91. Goes to the Rays. They fix him. And look what he's done. 1.56 ERA in 22, 2.98 ERA last year, 2.49 this year. A lot of holds. Right-handed. He's, look at some of the strikeouts today. Nasty stuff. And so you put him on a team that is trying to win right now, a right-handed reliever, which is what the Padres were looking for. You put him in there with Morejon. I think he probably goes ahead of Morejon, but maybe it depends on matchups. But you have him, Morejon, Estrada, and Suarez. You have 4 high-leverage relievers instead of 3. That is great because when in the postseason, let's say when they're all available and you have a starter go 6 innings, now you have 4 high leverage relievers. You can pick instead of having to go to your 3 and not being able to pick. You can pick, you can do matchup based, or if a starter, because postseason, not every starter is going to go 6 innings. We know that. There's a shorter leash, especially in elimination games. Those 4 starters, now they can pick up more room, more innings, at the back end of games, and maybe a starter only can go 5 innings, and the Padres don't want to have that starting pitcher face, maybe it's the top of the lineup for a third time or whatever, going into that 6th inning or at the end of the 6th inning, and you can bring one of those guys in. So it lengthens out. I was talking about this earlier with the whole lineup thing. Oh, the lineup gets lengthened with Luis Ariz coming in, when you make additions. Well, the bullpen gets lengthened, and there's a trickle-down effect here. It helps relievers because there's an extra arm, so maybe Estrada doesn't have to pitch as much. Same thing with Morejon, Suarez, or you don't have to see as much of a Steven Kolek or a Yuki Matsui if the Padres don't actually want to use those guys. They can go to Jason Adam, or they can go, if they want a lefty, they can go to Morejon and have Adam pitch the 7th, Estrada the 8th, Suarez the 9th, or Estrada the 7th, Adam the 8th, Suarez the 9th, whatever, right? So I just think, again, starters, maybe they don't have to go as long. I don't like the whole innings talk about Waldron and King because as long as they feel good and they're continuing to pitch well, I don't care how many innings they're pitching because I care about how they're feeling and what it's looking like and the results are good right now. So I just don't want to hear about the innings limit stuff. But I do realize that is probably part of it. And so here and there, you could have Michael King instead of go pitch into the 7th or finish 6 innings. You could have him pitch into the 6th inning and take some pitches off of his arm, and that can add up. And maybe you could get better performance or better velocity than you would have. I don't know, because I'm not in there. Obviously, I'm not a doctor or anything or a trainer. I know, shocker, right? But there could be some trickle down effects that are positive here with the acquisition of Jason Adam. Now, I read on social media some Padres fans' reactions to what the Padres gave up in this deal. And I tweeted out earlier today, I'll ask the dumb question that gets asked after big trades. Did the Padres win the Jason Adam deal? Again, JD Gonzalez, Dylan Lesko, Homer Bush Jr., they go to the Rays. And I say it's a dumb question because it is a dumb question to ask immediately after a deal gets done, who won the deal? Who knows? It's based off performance. We don't know. You know, did we know at the time who won the, I don't know, let's say the Joe Musgrove deal? Who won the Yu Darvish deal? Who won the Tommy Pham, Jake Cronenworth deal? You just don't know at the time. But I got over 50 responses, and there were a lot of people that said no. Someone says here, at Friar Lounge says, on the surface, no. The Lesko down year did not help the Pods. AJ paid for multiple years of control. Jason Adam slots nicely into high leverage late inning spots, which I like. Great fastball changeup combo. To me, Bush trade hurts most. HSK Humor says right now, absolutely not. Lauren says no. Monty's Mafia says giving up your top arm prospect by himself, no. Padres family says no. Michael Padres 2024 says 100% no. Joel says absolutely not. Mariners gave up way less to get Randy Arozarena. Padres gave up Lesko for a journeyman reliever having a few good years, as is the case with most Tampa Bay relievers, and then they the bed elsewhere. Juan says no. 3 prospects for a rental. Come on, Preller, do better. So what I'd say to those people that think the Padres lost the deal already, one, yeah, it's a few years, but to me, a journeyman guy is more like someone that's hopping team to team and is okay. He's not one of the best high leverage relievers, setup men in baseball. Jason Adam, he spent almost 3 seasons now with Tampa, and he has proven that he is one of the best setup men in baseball. He's not a rental. He's here for 2 more years after this season. He's barely making any money, which helps obviously with the whole luxury tax thing. And prospects are prospects. Do you want to give up Dylan Lesko and Homer Bush? No. It's nothing personal against JD Gonzalez, but yeah, I'd give him up. I mean, there's so much into Ethan Salas that JD Gonzalez, how much of an opportunity was he going to get anyway? And he's a defense catcher. I feel like you can find defense catchers. He was not hitting well with Lake Elsinore. His had no home runs. His OPS was bad. His average was bad. Just, he's young, though. I don't want to totally hammer him. He could end up being something. But yeah, I'm willing to give up that. I don't want to give up Homer Bush, but you're getting a guy that's under control. Dylan Lesko, it's Tampa Bay, so he's probably going to turn into Tyler Glass now, but we got to remember the Padres are trying to win now. Do I care what happens 4 years down the road? I will when it comes. But what this team has shown, they deserve to get reinforcements. They deserve to have guys that are really good come into this clubhouse and help this team win baseball games. They deserve it. And Dylan Lesko, he's had command issues. He doesn't have a good ERA this year. And I know ERA is not everything, but I think his whip is around 1.5. That's definitely not what you want. So things were not going great. I know he was coming off Tommy John, right? So he's working through some things, I think, with the command, and I have no idea what it feels like coming off of a surgery like that. It's probably not the best. So again, I don't want to totally hammer Dylan Lesko, but his expected time of arrival was not this season. Who knows if it was even next season based on how he's doing. And let's look at the rotation. King's controllable. Cease is controllable through next year. Musgrove controllable. Darvish controllable. Waldron controllable. That's 5 right there. Hopefully there's another starting pitching addition coming. We'll see if it's a back end rental or if that guy's controllable. Robbie Snelling, we'll see what happens there. Could he come up at some point next year? I don't think it would be this year, but we'll see. Free agency, the Padres could pick someone up there. They can make a trade in the offseason. As time went on, it just felt like, especially when you're trying to win now, if there's a team that's willing to give you a guy like Jason Adam and they want Dylan Lesko, okay, you give Dylan Lesko up. Dylan Lesko, to me, was not on the level of Leo DeVry, of Ethan Salas, in terms of, yeah, this guy's probably going to be a stud at the big league level. He could be, but he has not yet proven it consistently at the minor league level. And I'm not watching every Dylan Lesko outing, but to me, it seemed like command was an issue. And that can be fixed. But again, like, I don't want to just dream on these prospects when you have an opportunity to win right now. This team is showing that they could go win. They can, the stuff, the fight in this team, the talent that's on this team, there's the stuff there, the ingredients there for them to be able to go on a run come October and next year as well, So I'm willing. I don't want to give up Snelling and Lesko, but if you have to give up one to get a talented reliever, it's not like they gave up Lesko, Bush, and Gonzalez here for a guy that has a 3.5 ERA, and this was his first year of pitching like this as a reliever. No, Jason Adam now, how big is this sample size? The sample size now is, I'm counting this year and going back to 2022. It's a sample size of 164 and 2/3 innings, 170 games, and in that sample size, he has a 2.30 ERA. His ERA plus in that sample size is 70% above league average. His WHIP in that sample size is .881. It's well below 1, right? You want to be under 1. He has almost 200 strikeouts. He's got the swing and miss. By the way, his whiff rate, Baseball Savant, 96th percentile. So you want the swing and miss in those big situations. You got it there with Jason Adams. So to get something, you have to give up something. It's not like they gave up a Juan Soto site package. Yes, has the farm system taken a beating? Yeah. They've lost Martorella. They've lost Marcy. They've lost Iriarte. They've lost Thorpe. They've lost, obviously, Lesko. They've lost, obviously, Homer Bush Jr., Gonzalez. These guys are what? Top 15 prospects in the farm system. I understand that. But who have they gained? Right? Who have they gained during this process? They've gained Dylan Cease, who has Cy Young stuff and just threw a no-hitter. Okay? They added Michael King in the Soto deal, and they got a lot of flexibility to make other moves as well. It opened up spots for Merrill. You bring Profar in. Look how that is freaking turned out, right? They got Higgy in that deal. But I'm just talking about the deals where they gave up significant prospects. They've gotten Dylan Cease. They've gotten Luis Ariz, batting champ, multiple-time All-Star, leadoff hitter, a bat-to-ball guy, a lefty that this team definitely could have used at the time, and they still can use. They can always use a Luis Ariz in the lineup. And they got Jason Adams. So you got a frontline starter, you got a top-of-the-order bat, and you've got a high-leverage reliever. A team that's trying to win right now, a team that has Merrill and an MVP candidate in Profar, and the talents of Manny and Tatis when he comes back, and Bogarts, who's hitting well coming off the IL, and Cronenworth, who has a bounce-back year. And you've got other talent back end of the rotation, back end of the bullpen, the rotation with King, with Musgrove when he comes back, Cease, Darvish, we'll see, Waldron, the way he's pitching. Like, this is a talented baseball team. They deserve the reinforcements. And what I go back to when I was reflecting about the Juan Soto deal when, that Padres Nat series was happening in DC. I'm glad they did that Soto deal. I don't regret that. And I don't feel like I'm going to regret the Padres doing this Jason Adam deal. It could flop, just like GMs have made other GMs. Every GM in baseball has made a mistake with a trade. I'd rather have my team go for it than my team to sit here and say, let's just hope for the best with the bullpen. Let's hope that Dylan Lesko pans out when it's not looking that great in the minors. Let's hope that Homer Bush Jr. pans out. Let's hope that JD Gonzalez can be some AAA depth catcher for us at some point, because that might end up being what he ends up being. Who knows? I'd rather just go get the high leverage reliever that has multiple years of control, one of the best setup men in baseball, that isn't just going to help you win now, but can help you win it in the next couple of years as well, when you've got Tatis and Manny and Bogarts and Cronenworth and Musgrove, these guys in the part of their careers where you need to capitalize, especially for a franchise that has never won a World Series. It hasn't gotten to a World Series, obviously, in my lifetime and in the era of these guys, as Padres. So I'd rather, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. Right? And this is a shot that AJ took, and hopefully it ends up going in. We'll see. But I'm not going to sit here and cry over the package. I wish the best to Dylan Lesko, just like I wish the best to Mackenzie Gore at the time of the Soto deal. Sure, you want him still, but these are trades. I feel like sometimes in sports, fans think that their team needs to win the trade the day that the trade happens, and they forget that there's another team on the other side. The reason why this thing happened was because the other team thought that they got back a good package, and the Padres thought they got back what they wanted. Trades are supposed to be even. Trades are not supposed to be won by one side. It's not supposed to be lopsided. Or else why would the team that lost the trade, they got blown out in the deal, let's say, why would they make the move? It's supposed to be so it's even. You give me what I want from you. I have an excess of something, or I'm willing to give this up to get what you can give me, and you want this for me. There you go. Of course, you want to win every deal, but you probably want to win. Well, yeah, of course, you want the blowout win in a deal, but trades probably should work out where it's even, or like 60-40, 55-45. Or else why is the GM making that move? So I think we should remember that. Yeah, you acquire a reliever, one of the best setup men in baseball, multiple years of control, sub-3 ERA, all that stuff, sub-1 WHIP. It's going to cost you. Yeah, you're going to give up some talent where you're going to go, ooh, that might hurt. Because when I saw that deal and I saw the names for Jason Adam, immediately I was like, holy cow, that might hurt. But then I did some more research and felt better about it. Maybe that's what some Padres fans will do, and they will feel better about it, or maybe they won't. I feel like when Jason Adam is in a Padres uniform and he's helping the Padres win games, and hopefully in the postseason he is, we'll forget, or those that don't like this, they'll not be thinking about Dylan Lesko and Homer Bush Jr. and JD Gonzalez in that moment. They'll be smiling and being super happy because Jason Adam is getting outs. That's how I look at it. I'm going to get to the chat, obviously. So hopefully people that are in the chat and they're commenting and all that, I will get to it. I just want to give all the thoughts that I have here before going to the chat. Manny, by the way, 1,000 runs driven in over the weekend. That homer that he had the other day. So that was cool. Did it all where it started at Camden Yards. The Padres, by the way, they continue to be connected to Garrett Crochet, Ken Rosenthal. I think it was over the weekend. Maybe it was Friday. He wrote that the Padres and the Dodgers, those teams are still among the teams believed to be connected, be pursuing Garrett Crochet even after the comments that he had. So I think, especially after giving up Dylan Lesko, the possibility of Crochet being a Padre is slim to none. And I'm not sitting here super pissed off about it. I'm just not. The quote, not the quotes, the report that came out about the whole extension thing, That's just someone that I don't want to be like, yeah, let's give up a bunch for that guy. He's having a great year. Would help the rotation if he's healthy, but I feel like if the Padres are going to go where they want to go, the guys that they already have at the front of the rotation and Musgrove, when he comes back, they pitch well, then they'll be able to go on the run that we all want them to, right? And if the Padres acquire back end depth starters, help them get to the postseason, better options than Adam Major, and what else they have right now, get to the postseason, maybe those guys can be better bullpen pieces as well than other guys at some point in time come beginning of October. I think that, let's remember Dylan Cease before the season, that's like the big deadline deal starting pitching wise. That's the big name. I don't think we should be expecting a big name to come the Padres' way. Dennis Lynn, he did recently say today in The Athletic, the Padres have spoken with the Tigers about starter Jack Flaherty. So that is another name that's floated out there. I'm not expecting the Padres to go acquire Jack Flaherty. You look at the names that are out there, actual names that would get dealt. I don't think Scooble is actually a name that would get dealt. I don't think Crochet is a name that's going to get dealt unless the Dodgers overpay here. I look at Jack Flaherty. I look at Eric Fetty. You say Kikuchi. Like, those are the three names that stick out to me. So there's going to be competition. And if the Padres had to give up Lesko and Homer Bush for a reliever, and I get it's a controllable reliever, and Flaherty would be a rental starting pitcher, it's still a starting pitcher, though. And so you're going to have to give up more for a starter probably than a reliever. So I just wonder, how able are the Padres to get a deal done for Jack Flaherty? How much do they want Jack Flaherty when he's a rental? How much are they willing to give up? That's the question. Or would they rather just go with someone that maybe doesn't have a 2.95 ERA, doesn't have a whip under 1, but still can be a servable starter? Because Jack Flaherty right now, 2.95 ERA, 18 starts, over 100 innings, over 130 punch-outs. His whip is .956. Schilt and Flaherty obviously have that relationship. Schilt managed Flaherty when Flaherty was young, and it seemed like he was going to become one of the best pitchers in the league before kind of went the other direction, and he struggled with the Baltimore Orioles. What was that, last year? But there's that relationship, and I think Flaherty would love coming to the Padres. Don't get me wrong. Southern California, he might have been a Dodger fan growing up, though. I don't know. But being on a contender, yeah, he'd love to not be on the Detroit Tigers, I would imagine, when he's a rental, right? But I believe now it's prorated, so the Padres would have room for him, but it's not a Jason Adam friendly contract. I think it's 13 mil. It's not 3 million. Now it's prorated, so it would be less than actually, 13 mil, which is good. And the Padres would have room to add Jack Flaherty. For me, it's more of not that money. It's more of how much are the Padres willing to give up after giving up significant talent for Arise, Cease, and Jason Adam. How much are they willing to give up for a rental in Jack Flaherty? And I think it's in the back of some GM's heads that when Jack Flaherty was traded to the Orioles last year from the Cardinals, he struggled. So I don't know if it was a mid-season thing and that's why he was struggling, or it was just a bad year for him. And it doesn't matter if he's traded to wherever, he's still going to pitch like he's pitching with the Tigers in that new home. I just don't know if the Padres are going to have enough. I feel like there's going to be a team out there that will be willing to overpay for Jack Flaherty because they feel like, yep, that's the guy. And maybe, or, that team that overpays, they overpay not because they wanted to, but because that's, Fetty, let's say he goes off the board, Kikuchi goes off the board, and then Flaherty's like the one of the big three there that's available, and that team goes for it. Flaherty's more, especially the way he's pitching this year, he's more than just a back-end rotation guy. He's a guy that would fit right in there with King and Cease and Waldron. It would be nice, but what would that package look like? Again, that's the question. Looking at Jack Flaherty's game logs here, by the way. Let's see. His last 3 starts, 6 innings, no earned runs, 5 2/3, 2 earned runs, 6 innings, 1 earned run, 5 runs the starting before that against the Angels, but then the outings before that, 5 2/3, 1 earned run, 5 innings, no earned runs, 5 innings, no earned runs, 6 2/3, no earned runs. So he's actually not providing super long length, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, I don't want Jack Flaherty. I just think the Padres might go with someone that might cost a little bit less. But according to Kevin Acee, they are desperately looking for a starter. So that's the latest that I've got there. By the way, the Padres top prospects now, if you want an updated look at the Padres top prospects, with now that Jason Adam trade official, this is what it looks like. Ethan Salas is number 1. Robbie Snelling is number 2. This is according to MLB.com. Leo DeVry is number 3. And then after that, there's a little bit of a drop-off. Adam Mazur is the 4th-ranked prospect in the system now. Graham Pauley is 5. Ryan Bergert is 6. Krob is 7. Victor Lizarraga. That's, if you don't want to give up Snelling, then Lizarraga probably goes. But, positive in that Jason Adam deal, the Padres did keep Brandon Valenzuela, who is older than the catcher they gave up. Valenzuela is 23, ETA 2025. He's in Double-A right now. But the arms, the top-ranked arms for the Padres, it's Robbie Snelling, and then the second-ranked arm is Adam Mazur. Then Berger, Krob, Lizarraga, Jackson Wolf is 11th. Alec Jacob is 12th. Yeah. There's still talent here. I mean, I could point to guys like Sean Reynolds, Javian Sandridge, not a pitcher, but Tercer Ornelas might be appealing to some, but I feel like the Padres would want to keep him as a depth guy. Kevin Kopps, I believe, is still in the system, right? I thought he was one of the top prospects. But yeah, the farm system is thin for sure, but AJ has shown an ability to rebuild the system and continue to have players in that farm system that other teams are willing to give up star players for. So for anyone that wants to keep doubting AJ and the farm system and look what he's done to the farm system, do we want to win at the big league level or do we want to watch the San Antonio Missions win their league? Like that's how I feel about it. It's cool to see the minor leaguers have success, but I mean, what are we hanging our hat on the 2017 or 2016? The El Paso championship with Renfroe and Asuaje and those guys. Are we hanging our hat on that? Or do we want to see the team at the big league level win? Alrighty. Let's get to the chat. Yeah, Boston Bateman, that's another name. Obviously, yeah, the class that they just selected. Yeah, for sure. There's some intriguing guys there. They got a couple of guys from Tennessee. So, yeah, Preller, he continues to bring in talent. The high schooler that they got, Cash Mayfield, that could be a guy that could be a frontline starter at some point for the Padres or a mid-rotation starter, or they could flip him in a couple years for another frontline starter when Dylan Cease is about to be a free agent or something, who knows? All right, Super Chat, thank you so much. Paul, he says here, do you think we can get some back of the rotation starter for Mazur and a few low-end prospects without having to give up Snelling, DeVry, or Salas? I don't know how appealing Mazur is to other teams. Because I'm sure teams have scouted him. I'm sure teams see that he's not ready right now for the big leagues. So Major, it could be like Ryan Weathers, where a team is willing to take him, but is he going to be the star of a deal? I'm not so sure. There are back end starters that I'm probably not thinking. Like, what would the cost be for someone like Cal Quantrill? You know, Tyler Anderson, I think, would cost more. I think he has one more year of control after this year. But just throwing out some names like that, okay, maybe what you're saying there, Paul. But I don't know if Major's going to be the headliner in a deal. But again, thank you for that super chat. Yeah, Diego, I do need to hit on that. The Ha-Seong Kim attempting to steal third base. That was another one. Like, because I was talking earlier about this game, and there was the what ifs. Like, what if those plays weren't made by the Orioles? Those good plays in the outfield. What if that ball didn't drop in front of Profar? What if Vasquez didn't have those 4 walks? Another one was what if there was that rally going? Arise was up at the plate, not just any lefty, Luis Arise. Kim already stole second base in, I think, the third inning. Got himself in a scoring position, and he ends up trying to steal third base when the catcher obviously has no obstructing guy standing in the right-handed batter's box, and Kim gets thrown out. And for me, I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you trying to steal third base in that situation? Of course, Arise singles. Kim wouldn't have scored because it was a shallow single, I think, to left. But still, why are you? I think there were 2 outs after Kim did that. So there would have been, first and third with 1 out? What are you doing there? You have Luis Arise up at the plate. You have the top of the lineup up. You're already in scoring position. It's a lefty up. It's one thing if it was a righty, right? And you read at second base that a breaking ball is coming or whatever, and you just go. And also, if you're going to go, looking at that replay, why is Ha-Seong Kim so close to second base? It's like, if you're going to go to third, you got to get off a little bit farther than that, right? So, yeah, I disagreed with that. Good point, Diego. Thank you for bringing that up because I forgot to mention that. Diego, though, says overall the road trip was a success. No doubt. Undoubtedly. Yep. Infamous at HNIC says we don't need an elite arm. We just need someone better than Major. We'd give up way too much if we trade for Snow, and I don't want to see Salas or DeVry in a San Francisco jersey. Yeah. I don't think Snow would cost those guys, and if he does, then you're not trading for Snow. But yeah, the Padres, John Heyman, I think, tweeted earlier today, the Padres have expressed they've checked in with the Giants on Blake Snell. But Preller kicks the tires on everyone. I'm not expecting Blake Snell to be a Padre come Tuesday at 3. Not expecting it at all. He's got the player option. Would Blake Snell love to be here? Yeah. I don't think he wants to be with the Giants this year. I don't see the Giants as being a playoff team. It seems like Snell loved his time in San Diego. But the contract could be an issue. And if he's going to pitch like Cy Young Blake Snell, yeah, that would be great. But there's also the money thing. How much money is prorated in $30 million he's making this year? I don't know how much the prorated would be. If they took all of that for this year, then I would think that's less that they would have to give up. But that is a risk. I mean, it's not like Snell has been pitching great this year. I know he had a great start against the Rockies, but we've seen second half Blake Snell. And second half Blake Snell is better than first half, so I guess that's the good news. And he didn't have a spring training, so I understand it. But that is a risk that you're taking, acquiring that salary. And then what if Snell actually does take the player option, and then you're on the hook for $30 million next year? They might be willing to go over the luxury tax because they're resetting this year, but that would limit what else you're going to do with the rest of the team. I just don't see Snell coming to the Padres. Again, I think that, it's going to be, like you're saying here, someone better than Major. Back end, depth starter. Yeah, David says maybe someone with postseason experience. It's a plus. But I mean, Rich Hill had postseason experience. Like, it's got to be the good postseason experience, if that makes sense. What I mean by that is postseason experience and where they're at in their career, not 47 years old or whatever he was. I think I'm exaggerating, but it felt like it. Yeah, Tyler Anderson fits that. Yep. He, that's one where I'm really interested in wondering how much that would cost because I believe there's that extra year of control. And he's been pitching well. So there's going to be some competition there, I think, for Tyler Anderson's services. Kalik says in an away trip where people said they were going to be happy with a 4-5 trip, me included, I'm very happy with this team. I wouldn't have liked 4-5. 5-4 would have been acceptable. I mean, because going in after the All-Star break, you're looking at it, it's like Cleveland really good, Baltimore really good. Have a winning road trip. We're good. Just keep having winning road trips. Keep stacking those series wins, winning road trips, and hopefully we'll be good. 7-2 was not expecting that. Ricky Tan asks, any update on Tatis? Last thing I heard was that he's throwing, he's swinging. I haven't heard any update that included that he was running, but he doesn't feel pain when he's walking anymore. So he's progressing, but it's a slow progression, which shouldn't surprise anyone. Connor asked, do we think the Pods have any chance in the division? Very small chance. I'm not sitting here like, oh, watch out, Dodgers, watch out. I'm not focused on the division. It would have to be Padres win both games against the Dodgers, because then they'd be what, 3.5 back? Then it's like, okay, we're there. Because the Dodgers are banged up. But right now, still, it's the Padre fan in me, where like I believe in the team as a postseason team, but until they win the NL West, it's gonna be until they actually do it, it's gonna be hard for me to be like, oh yeah, they're gonna go win the division. So to answer your question, any chance? Yes, they do have a chance, but I'd say a small chance still. They have a really good chance, though. I will say this: really good chance first wild card spot. I mean, looking at where the Braves are at, they're dealing with Fried down and Strider down and Albies down and Acuna down. Padres are a half game back. I think no, 1 game back of that first wild card spot with the Braves. They're a half game up on the third wild card spot. That's the Mets. D-backs are a half game back of the Mets. Cardinals are a game back of the Mets. Pirates are 2 games back. The Giants are 3.5. So the Giants are kind of like in that Padres spot last year where fans are probably saying it's probably best if you sell. But does the front office want to do that? When they sign Chapman, they sign Snell, they brought in Bob Melvin. You don't bring in Bob Melvin to go sell at the deadline. I feel like maybe it's an ownership thing that they're going to get involved with and say, don't sell, but feels like that. I mean, I don't want them to sell because I feel like that would help the Padres for the future, but they might. Let's see here. Yeah, John, if you're still here, I will drop the link. But what happened to the invite link? So it's just the dummies that have come on and they were being inappropriate. So I stopped putting the link up there and I'm only going to put it in the chat. I just put it in the chat, by the way. But I'm only going to put it in there if someone requests to do it. And they actually, like, I know they're going to talk Padres. That's all. Connor says if we beat the Dodgers, then we'll be around 4.5 games back. Well, let me look here. Right now, we're 6.5. Yeah, so 4.5. We'd be 4.5 if we win the next 2 games against them. It could happen, but yeah, I still think it's a small chance that they go win the division. I'm focused on get starting pitching, be in a good spot to go be a postseason team, and then see what happens. Just going through the chat here. How soon will our new pickup be ready to pitch? I think on Tuesday. He didn't join the team in Baltimore, but he's going to be joining them back here in San Diego. So I assume tomorrow, or not tomorrow. Tomorrow's Monday. Tuesday against the Dodgers. And then who would go down? Probably Davis or Gillespie. I don't know if they would DFA De Los Santos. I sure hope it's not Alec Jacob that they send down. What's up, Parker?
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
What do you think of this Jason Adam deal?
At first, I was looking at it and I was kind of like, oof, let's go. But I didn't realize that his numbers weren't very good. And then I looked at Jason Adam and I was like, okay. Preller's like, okay, we need to win now. So I was like, plus all the pitchers we drafted in the draft this year, I was like, okay, we maybe weren't. It's not as bad as I thought at the start. So now I feel like, you're not going to win every trade. I don't think anyone really won the trade. We're trying to win now. We're not trying to win in years to come. So I felt really good about it.
Yeah, you feel better. Like I had that same reaction initially. I'm like, oh, because you see the names, you see Lesko, you see Bush, and you see Jason Adam. It's like, who's this guy? But when you look into the numbers, it's like, oh, he's actually one of the better relievers, and this could be a pretty darn good pickup and crucial pickup for the Padres, especially come postseason time. And yeah, again, like it's a trade. Sometimes fans think, and I understand they want the Padres to win everything, and the guys that they give the other team suck, but it's a trade. The reason why it goes through is because the other team got talent back that they wanted, that they liked. So yeah, Lesko could end up being Tyler Glass now, and that would suck. But we have Cease, got Musgrove, got Darvish, got King, got Waldron. Hopefully another starter. Like we're trying to win right now, and it's not just right now with Jason Adam. It's the next couple of years after that as well, and he's not making very much money, which helps as well in the future. So yeah, I warmed up to it pretty quickly.
Yeah, I was curious what your big thing I've been hearing a couple Padres fans on, and I'm kind of leaning like more towards this. I've been very disappointed in Cronenworth recently. I kind of feel like Solano should get more time. I mean, I love Cronenworth. I know he's getting paid and stuff, but I really feel like today's game, I was fine with him hitting. We're down by 2. 2 outs. But I feel like even with righties pitching, I really feel like I just love Solano. I feel like he always puts a good at bats, and I feel like Cronenworth's starting to strike out more. And so I was curious what your thoughts on him.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I don't know if the DH, and I haven't looked at the numbers, but I don't know if him DHing, that probably doesn't suit him the best. I think that because I'm just watching his at bats, and then when he gets out, and you can just see he cares. Like there's the F bombs, like so it just feels like to me that him thinking about hitting the entire day, that's probably not the best. He's in the lineup because he's Jake Cronenworth. He's having a bounce back year. It's a lefty bat. Solano's a righty. And I know what you're saying about those lefty situations. And so, yeah, I'm with you on that. But it's one of those where Schilt is going to have trust in those veteran players, and Jake Cronenworth is one of those who's under the long-term contract. He provides more value defensively than Solano does. And if you want to have Solano DH, yeah. But then that means that Luis Ariz isn't going to be in the lineup, and you want Luis Ariz in there.
Yeah.
If Ariz is going to be in the lineup and playing second, then where's Bogarts? Bogarts is not going to be sitting anytime soon.
No.
So really, it's Ha-Seong Kim. But then
He's
you're going to
actually.
are you going to have Bogarts at shortstop when you did the whole move into second base thing? So I agree. Like in the best world, right? And you're just thinking about offense and matchups. Yeah, you have Solano in there, you have Ariz, you have Bogarts, and you have Cronenworth probably. Some would say you take Cronenworth out and you leave Kim at short, Bogarts at second,
Arise at
Solano at DHing. Yeah. Ariz at first.
first. Yeah.
I'm not opposed to that every once in a while, because of those matchups. And you can have Jake Cronenworth come off the bench. Like that's not the worst thing either, to have that option. But I'm telling you, like, I think the Padres really do value what Jake brings both sides.
He's good on defense too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I think they really do value that. And with Solano, now it's one of those, and this has happened in past seasons, right? Where we have this discussion about that one guy that maybe should be getting more at bats, but then it gets to a point where when's the last time this guy got those at bats? So you're going to put him into a game after he hasn't gotten at bats in a while, and what's going to happen there? So if he struggles, it's like, well, you haven't been giving him at bats, so what do you expect to happen? So I think they're in that tricky spot right now. If they keep winning games like this, then I don't think we're going to continue to be complaining about it. And I'm not saying like you're complaining a bunch about it, but I do see fans saying that. Yeah, the explanation I have for it is the defense, the versatility, the value that Crony brings. He's faster than Solano, but no, I do understand that point. If you're just looking at numbers, you're looking at matchups. Schilt with the bullpen, right? He likes to look at the matchups. We saw that with Morejon the other night. So how about look at matchups with the lineup? I'm not opposed to Cronenworth not playing some games to have Solano get in there. I guess I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate there.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good things to take away. Obviously, I was upset with how we lost, but throughout that whole game I was watching, I was like, really? We shouldn't win the game after what? 6 runs in 1 inning. You're not going to win many games when you do that. But, no matter how much we're down by, we're always going to, give the other team a scare at least or not go down without a fight. But, really saw good things. But Alec Jacob, you look really good.
Yeah.
I mean, he has a really funky delivery. And I kind of wish Luis Ariz. I mean, I know he's kind of his hands hurting and kind of hoping he can kind of kick it up a notch. But I thought Kim's been hitting well recently as well.
Yeah.
So, I think
I'm
you
gonna
pull
look
it
that
up.
up.
I think he
Yeah.
might be on a hitting streak right now. Maybe not by much, but maybe 3 games.
Yeah, because I did mention, in that discussion right there about, well, Kim's the guy you take out then. Because just from the eye test, I'm like, well, yeah, I feel like that because he's not given the power maybe that he had last year. But recently, this was going into today, last 7 games, he has 8 hits, 3 runs driven in. Yeah, not bad. And we know like the defense is pretty much always there. And so if you can have a solid defensive shortstop like that, he's going to be in there for the most part. And again, I don't think the Padres want to, especially when Bogarts is hitting like this, I don't think they want to have him bouncing around second, short, next day back to second. I think they just want to keep him at second base.
Yeah, I was really pleased with how they played Bogarts. I was so happy. You said I was kind of confused. I was like, is he going to do well when he comes back? But, obviously he's done amazing. But I was watching it today, and I was like, you brought it up earlier. I was like, why are we stealing third? Kim steals second, great jump. And I was like, okay, Luis rises up, 1 out, we're good. And he steals third, and I'm like, whoa, what was that call?
Yeah. What are we doing? Yeah. That's just, and that's, Kim has done that. I don't know if that was a Kim idea,
Yeah.
Leaper, but yeah, sometimes it's like he's trying to make too many things happen. He just made something happen by stealing second. You have Luis Ariz up the plate. You have one out. Like, that's good. You can score on a hit. You know, it feels like he's just, he makes something happen, and he's like, oh, that worked. Okay, I'm going to go even further. And it's like, no, sometimes know your limits and just stop. Considering the circumstance, it wasn't just any left-handed hitter up either. It was Luis
Yeah.
Ariz.
Yeah, I was super surprised in the first game with Major. I was like, you know what? It's weird because, like, in other sports, like, they lose the game, you're not really mad. But with baseball, like, you wake up every day, expecting to win. And I was like, Major, okay, don't have super high hopes. As my goal for him, I didn't even know he wasn't, it was going to be a huge bullpen game. I didn't really know that going in. I was like, okay, if he can get through 4-5 innings, not
Yeah.
more than 3 runs, I think we can back it up with our bats. And same with Vasquez today. That's what I was hoping. And then I thought Gillespie did fine on, what was it, Thursday? Is that what the first game was? Friday, I think it was
Friday,
Friday.
yeah.
I was like, Gillespie did fine. I mean, Austin Davis. I mean, I don't really think he's. I think when we get these pitchers back, I don't really know if he's going to be on the roster anymore. He did fine. I thought, obviously, Jurickson Profar, just wow.
Yeah.
But I felt like, this whole series was really impressive. I mean, if we didn't have this, I was hoping to at least be 500 at the end of July, going into the Rockies, the Pirates, the Marlins, and then the Rockies again and all that. But now, I mean, after all of the Rockies series and all that, we could even have a chance to be 8 to 10 games above 500, or even more than that.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Parker.
Yeah.
Have a good one, man. That's a good point about the schedule. Because I was talking about that going into, like, I think during the All-Star break, going into this road trip. I was like, all right, tough road trip. Then Dodgers when they get back home. All right. But then they got the Rockies. And they've got the Pirates. And I think they got the Rockies again. I think they got the Marlins. And it's like, where this team is at, especially after this road trip, yeah, they could be in a really good spot. They're, 6 games over 500? I think. Yeah, 57 and 51. 6 games over 500. So split this Dodgers series, these 2 games here, still at 6 games going into that stretch, and then get a few more games over 500, and now you see yourself at 9 games over. And you get Tatis and Musgrove back at the end of August. Then it's like, all right, we're going to the postseason. So this is where I'm not saying like guaranteed we're going to be 9 games over, because the Padres have a history the last couple years of not being able to capitalize against those bad teams. Obviously, we saw it last year. Missed the playoffs by a couple of games, and there were so many games against bad teams that they did not take advantage of, right? So I'm going to be paying attention, obviously, to these games during this stretch. A little, like, uneasy because of what's happened in the past. Maybe I should let go of the past, but as a Padres fan, I'm sure some of you guys can relate. It's going to be hard to be like, oh, yeah, yep, they're going to go 10-3 on this stretch playing bad teams. Because we just seen it before where those teams, or the Padres, play down to the level of competition, and they're going to be playing them after the deadline. And so those teams will be worse than what they are now, and those players on those teams will be playing with nothing to lose or everything to lose. So they'll be very motivated because they want to put themselves in a great opportunity to make that roster next year, or to make themselves appealing to other teams in the offseason, because they're not playing for a postseason spot or anything like that. Those can be the most dangerous teams. Or it can be the spot where you go on a run. Remember last year, all the bad teams the Padres played at the end of last year, and they went on that run? Hopefully that can be that run coming up after this Dodgers series, because if they can go on a run after that series, after these 2 games, Tuesday and Wednesday, they are putting themselves in a very good position to make the postseason. Because if we look at the wild card standings, all of these teams are not going to be continuing to play how they're playing. All of these teams will not have the same caliber of players that they have on their teams right now. The Pirates, the Giants, the Cubs, the Reds. Now those 2 teams are 5 games back, but I'm just saying, The Nats just dealt Jesse Winker. They've already dealt a reliever. They're not going to make the playoffs. But some of these teams here, so the Mets are buying. The D-backs are buying. Cardinals are probably buying. Pirates, we'll see. They're going to be an interesting team. Giants, they may stand more pat. Are those teams, I mean, if we look at those teams, their last 10 games, Pirates are 6-4. Giants are 6-4. D-backs are 6-4. Mets are 6-4. Are they going to do that the rest of the year? If they do, then it's going to be some real competition. But right now, I mean, I'm not as invested in those teams day to day, obviously. I don't know their schedules off the top of my head, but the Padres' schedule, it was really tough, and it's not going to be as tough. So that's could be a good thing. Hopefully it's a good thing. It could be a bad thing, too. For Snell. No, Giants don't need Kim as a rental. They could sign a new extension. Yeah, no. I know you're joking. Thoughts on the Kroger slump? Yeah, so Parker was on here and just had some thoughts on that. I want to look up at the actual numbers because it's one thing to say Cronenworth's in a slump without looking at the numbers. Eye test, yeah, it's what it feels like. I just want to confirm how he's doing right now. So let's go since the All-Star break. Ooh, yeah. It's only 8 games, but he's 6 for 33, hitting 182, 543 OPS. And his split this year against lefties. Versus lefties, he's hitting 197. Versus righties, he's hitting 274. OPS is 824 against righties. OPS against lefties is 526. So, yeah, there's a difference there. Solano, there's definitely a case to be made for Solano to play when a lefty is on the mound. But again, Cronenworth brings value not just offensively. And if the Padres are continuing to win, the Padres have been winning with Cronenworth in the lineup every day. So if they keep doing that, he provides the value elsewhere. Why would Mike Shildt be like, yeah, let's change things up? If they start to lose, and if Cronenworth continues to struggle, then I think you're going to see, you might see a change. But right now, sorry, I don't anticipate Solano all of a sudden playing all the time when a lefty's on the mound and Cronenworth not play. Another super chat. Thank you so much for this. Hello from Taiwanese Padres fan. It seems AJ overpaid just for Adam, I think is what he's trying to say here. Just for Adam, but Padres prospects value dropped this year. My rental starting pitcher, tier 1, Kikuchi, high strikeout to walk, low homer to fly ball fit, Pecco, it fits Pecco, LFGSD. Yeah, Kikuchi, yeah, he would be a rental, but he is one of those that I think would cost, would he cost more than Flaherty? I don't know. Let's look up how Kikuchi is doing this year. Flaherty's doing better, but actually it's the same. I think. Same amount of money, pretty much, prorated for this year. So, yeah, he probably would cost a little bit less than Flaherty. It's a fit, yeah. I would be surprised if the Padres have not checked in, and I'd be surprised if they don't keep checking in with the Blue Jays about the price for Kikuchi. But like I've said before, I don't anticipate it being big leaguers coming off of this roster. Like, Padres are trying to win. So, and the Blue Jays, if they trade Kikuchi, they're looking for next year. So, someone that's going to be under control for next year. And they're going to want some prospects too, I would think. Kikuchi, let's look at past years. So this year, 4.75 ERA, 22 starts. So he's been healthy all year. He leads the AL in starts, 22. He had 32 last year. So last couple years, he's been healthy. Making his starts. His K per 9 this year is at 10.1. His FIP's 3.64. His ERA is 4.75. So the numbers say he's getting a little bit unlucky. Kikuchi, Anderson, Fetty, Flaherty. Yeah, those names will probably be bantered about over the next couple of days. All right. Anything else to bring up in the chat here? Do I think another trade will happen tomorrow? Who knows? I'm trying to think back to Preller's history. He makes deals the day of the deadline. Does he make deals like minutes before the deadline? No. Not really, right? Or I remember that one year it was Jake Marisnick. We were expecting a starter in 21 and it was Jake Marisnick. And it's like, what are we doing? Sorry, AJ. I didn't agree with that one. But yeah, I mean, I'll tell you this, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a deal tomorrow. It's not like it's going to be an off day for any of the GMs just because the team's off. A lot of great comments back and forth here in the chat. So I love that from Padres fans. Just trying to go through here if there's any questions. Yeah, I think Alec Jacob will stay in the big leagues. I will be disappointed if he is off the roster to make room for Jason Adam. Do I think Kim is a trade piece? I don't think so. I don't think Kim's going anywhere. If they were going to trade him, it was going to be in the offseason because his value's gone down. It's not like it was at its highest in the offseason. It's not as high now. And injuries could happen. We know the value that he gives the Padres defensively. You could also go the off field, like he's loved in the clubhouse. What would that do? Let's see here. I already answered this, Connor. I think the Padres have a chance to battle for the division, but I don't think they're going to. My sights are still on the wild card. Make the postseason. Adrian says Morahone needs to go. What? He's been one of the Padres' better relievers this year. So maybe you're thinking about Morahone not being able to stay healthy from past years, but this year it's been different. Thankfully. He has a 2.57 ERA. 44 strikeouts in 42 innings. 34 games. He's a valuable. I mean, look at the Padres, the construction of the Padres bullpen right now, right? Estrada, Suarez, righties, Adam, righty. They need a high leverage lefty reliever. So Morahone's that right now. He'd like to have another one probably, but Matsui could be that. Wandy, I don't know what the update there is on him. I think it's groin, right? That could be a while. So maybe they add another lefty reliever. They're still looking for one, according to Dennis, I think. All right, that's going to do it. Talking Friars, episode 620. Padres, a successful road trip, the best road trip of the season so far. A no-hitter in it. Took 2 out of 3 from Cleveland, swept the Nats. Took 2 out of 3 from the Orioles. Couldn't ask for really much more. And then they made a significant trade to improve the team on paper going into this Dodgers series. So should be exciting Tuesday and Wednesday. Thanks, everyone. As always, so much for the support. You don't need to be here for an hour and 45 minutes, but you chose to do so. So thank you so much. I never take it for granted. Have a great rest of your night, and I'll talk to y'all later. See ya.